Good afternoon, this is the top of Boyton Canyon, and it's the place promised in our early days.
The Place Promised in Our Early Days is a sci-fi anime movie from 2004. In an alternate world from our own, two young men face the challenge of keeping a promise from their school days. In this alternate world, Japan has been divided by the Cold War. The northern island of Hokkaido has been separated from Japan, re-established its older name of Ezo, and become part of the Union. The rest of Japan is in the alliance with the United States. The Union has constructed an incredible tower on that island of Ezo, taller than anything imagined before. Its slender line can be seen as far south as Tokyo itself, though no one in Japan knows its mystifying purpose. The story spans half a dozen years. We first meet the three main characters while they're still at school along the northern coast of Japan's mainland, up where that mysterious tower dominates their northern sky. Hiroki and Takuya are serious-minded students, geeks with a secret project. They're slowly building their own airplane in a deserted railway station along the coast, a remnant of an long-abandoned project to connect Honshu with Ezo. They've already christened their plane the Bella Ciela. They scrounge parts by working after school at a small factory not far away. This isn't some Wright Brothers contraption or ultralight they're building, but an elegant plane, sleek and sophisticated. Their goal is to fly it across the Tsugaru Straits to the tower itself and get a good look at it. Never mind that would be an illegal border crossing. They've minimized their radar profile. Sayuri is a friendly classmate, cute and perky. She also has unusual dreams. She first casually mentions one to Hiroki while they're chatting on a commuter train after school. She tells him that she dreamed the night before that she'd ride home with him in just that way. It seemed merely a schoolgirl flirtation at the time, but later we see scenes from her other, less pleasant dreams of empty spaces and a plane in the sky that looks a lot like the Bella Ciela before she'd even seen it. The boys eventually will invite her to see their private project, the ultimate in shared confidence. Sayuri is suitably impressed with the project. She gets a promise that they'll all fly it together one day.
Amazing! An airplane?
That's right.
Are you two building this by yourselves?
We're working at the factory to pay for parts. Mr. Okabe's been helping us a lot, right? Mm-hmm. It's still far from being finished, though.
It's amazing.
Sayuri returns the boys' trust by treating them to a private concert on her violin. A third of the way through the film, the story jumps years into the future. Sayuri abruptly disappeared from school and the boys' lives without a word to them or any of her friends. Hiroki and Takuya have gone their separate ways, and the Bella Ciela never flew. That promise wasn't kept. Takuya is now a successful physicist and researcher studying parallel worlds. He's part of a project trying to open a small portal to one of those other worlds. The Alliance suspects that this is also the purpose of that mysterious Union Tower. Takuya's lovely friend and co-worker, Maki, romantically describes these alternate worlds as the dreams the universe has. What Maki knows, but the Hiroki and Takuya don't, is that Sayuri's been asleep all these years, afflicted by something totally unknown. Maki's research suggests that Sayuri's sleep is somehow related to the tower. Meanwhile, Hiroki has followed quite a different path. He's moved to Tokyo to forget about the tower, but he hasn't been able to. He hasn't settled into a job, or a life either. He's moody and listless, dealing with an emotional search for Sayuri, who he seems to sense in his dreams. He's always been closer to Sayuri than Takuya. Really, describing that story is probably misleading. There's a lot going on in this anime, almost deceptively so. There's a face-off between the Union and the Alliance, and indeed, we even get some gunfire and a few drops of blood. There's a sci-fi element of alternate worlds, and indeed we have experiments and technobabble. And within the characters' dreams, we find the metaphysical. But primarily, there are deep friendships here. Anime canon does mix these ingredients in many ways. It could emphasize the political, such as Jinro, or the sci-fi, such as Planetes, or the supernatural, such as Gasaraki, or go for the action, like Appleseed. But The Place Promised in Our Early Days is mostly about emotions. Not a single emotion, but a complex tangle of rich feelings. It deals both with separation and loneliness, and how feelings can still connect people across a gulf. There's an inchoate feeling of loss and desire, of something that's escaped, something ineffable that's just out of reach, like that Union Tower, or a dream that slips away when you wake, leaving only vague emotions behind. Anime.
Those white wings. I know them.
The Place Promised in Our Early Days is the first full-length movie directed by Makoto Shinkai, who also wrote the screenplay. He was practically a one-man studio for his earlier animated shorts, such as Voices of a Distant Star. This time, after the storyboards, he works with a small staff of animators to create a longer film of similar style. Shinkai's backgrounds are meticulously detailed, usually based on photos of actual locations. That requires a more static camera, which he makes up for by animating changes in lighting on the scene as clouds move sunlight across the screen, or trains pass shadows or lamps. He also uses a lot of brief shots in some scenes, while letting his camera linger on others. In contrast to that background detail, the character designs are relatively simple, yet they're expressive. Shinkai prefers long shots to close-ups, and he'll often show whole conversations with the characters in the distance. This isn't an action movie, but what small action scenes there are very nicely animated too. The soundtrack runs the gamut from Sayuri's violin solo to a full orchestra. It perfectly augments the sentimental emotions of the anime. The Place Promised in Our Early Days is piled thick with sentimental longings. Despite the sci-fi and political trappings, it appeals to the heart, not the head, about people struggling to maintain a human connection despite a world of distractions. As in his Voices of a Distant Star, Shinkai believes such emotional bonds transcend space, time, dimensions, logic, but it's all understated without loud or explicit declarations. I give The Place Promised in Our Early Days 5 stars for a sentimental journey through another place and another time. It's released in North America by ADV Films. The English dub is pretty good, but I still give the Japanese voice cast the edge. For extras, the DVD has an interview with Shinkai and the three main Japanese voice actors.
Thanks for watching.